I'm divorcing him next week. The words on my wife's laptop screen froze my blood. I stared at the email draft, unable to move, as if deleting it might somehow erase the truth. Subject line: Final divorce terms. Recipient: Joanna Matthews, ESQ. My coffee mug slipped from my fingers, shattering on the kitchen tile. 8 years of marriage, reduced to legal strategy and secret emails I was never supposed to see. I'd only opened her laptop because she'd begged me to fix her Wi-Fi issues. "You're the IT genius," she'd said this morning, her lips brushing my cheek with practiced affection. "Work your magic before my presentation tomorrow?" Now, as evidence of her betrayal filled the screen, I understood her recent password changes and hushed phone calls. The document attached to the email was titled asset_division_final.xlsx. I clicked it open. There, in meticulous detail, was a spreadsheet breaking down everything we owned, including the business we'd built together. LogicLink was categorized as highest value asset, with a note: "Wait until Meridian contract finalizes before filing. Will increase valuation by 40%. Keys jangled in the front door lock. "David? I'm back." Lisa's voice called out. "Did you fix my laptop?" I didn't answer, scrolling through months of messages between her and Stephanie, her maid of honor, our dinner guest last weekend, who'd raised a toast to many more years of happiness. The same Stephanie who'd been coaching my wife. Don't tell him until everything's in place. Men like David fall apart when blindsided, which gives you leverage. The front door slammed. Shopping bags rustled as heels clicked toward the kitchen. "David? Are you?" Lisa froze in the doorway, grocery bags clutched to her chest. Her eyes darted from my face to the open spreadsheet, then to the shattered mug at my feet. The color drained from her face as oranges tumbled from her arms, rolling across our newly refinished hardwood floors like displaced planets. "When exactly?" I asked, my voice eerily steady despite the earthquake inside me. "Were you planning to tell me our life together was over?" 3 hours earlier, I'd been a completely different person. I was David Clark, 36-year-old IT security consultant with a nice home in a good neighborhood, a wife I adored, and a small business we'd built together on the side. Our app development company wasn't huge, but it had steady clients and promising growth. We'd met in college, computer science majors who fell in love over late-night coding sessions and energy drinks. The classic nude love story. We'd named our company LogicLink, a play on both our technical backgrounds and our relationship. "We're linked logically and emotionally," Lisa had said when we filed the LLC paperwork. I thought it was corny but perfect. Now I stared at her across the kitchen island. This woman I'd built a life with, suddenly a stranger. "I was going to tell you after we secured the Meridian contract," she said, not bothering to deny anything. Her shoulders were squared, defensive. "The timing wasn't right yet." "The timing?" I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. "For our divorce? When exactly is the right time for that bombshell, Lisa?" She crossed her arms. "You're in my private emails. You had no right. I was fixing your Wi-Fi issue. You asked me to." I jabbed a finger at the screen. "But let's talk about rights. Did I have a right to know my marriage was ending before you discussed division of assets with your attorney?" Lisa's face hardened. "You're making this dramatic. It's just preliminary consultation." "Preliminary?" I scrolled through the messages, my voice rising. "You've been planning this for months. You asked about moving money from our joint accounts. You discussed the business valuation. There's a whole spreadsheet of our assets here." Her eyes narrowed. "Lower your voice. The Petersons will hear. That's what you're worried about?" "The neighbors." I stood up, pushing away from the counter. "How about being worried that your husband just discovered you're plotting to blindside him with divorce papers?" Lisa sighed, a practice sound of exhaustion I'd heard countless times during business disagreements. "This is exactly why I didn't tell you yet. You're being emotional instead of logical." The familiar criticism stung worse than usual. "Emotional? Finding out your marriage is over via email would make anyone emotional, Lisa." I ran a hand through my hair, trying to process everything. "Was anything real? Last weekend, when we went over the business projections for next quarter, were you just gathering information?" Her silence was answer enough. "And Stephanie? She's been in on this the whole time." Lisa shrugged. "She's my best friend. She hugged me last weekend and asked about our anniversary plans. She was being polite." I laughed bitterly. "Polite. Right." I turned back to the laptop, scanning more messages. One caught my eye, and I felt my stomach drop further. "You're meeting with a business appraiser next Tuesday? To value LogicLink." We need to know what it's worth for the settlement, she said matter-of-factly. Our business. The one we built together from nothing. I shook my head in disbelief. You talk about it like it's just another asset to divide. That's exactly what it is, legally speaking. Lisa's voice had that familiar patient tone she used when explaining technical concepts to clients. The business needs to be valued. Your programming skills and my design capabilities need to be factored into future projections. It's just business, David. Just business, I echoed. The room felt too small suddenly, the walls closing in. Our marriage is just business? She had the decency to look away. That's not what I meant. I scrolled further, finding a message from 2 weeks ago, from Lisa asterisk to Stephanie asterisk subject. Next steps asterisk. The good news is that David has no idea. You know how he gets lost in his coding projects. He barely noticed when I moved my personal items to the guest room closet. The Meridian contract is almost sealed, which should boost the company valuation nicely. Joanna thinks we should wait until after that's finalized before filing. Better position for negotiations. Asterisk PS. Thanks for letting me store some boxes at your place. He never goes into that spare room anyway, but I don't want to take chances. Asterisk. I looked up, the betrayal cutting deeper. The guest room closet? You've been moving out in slow motion, and I didn't even notice. For the first time, Lisa looked uncomfortable. I'd been preparing, gradually, while I've been working 16-hour days to land the Meridian contract. The contract that you're waiting on to boost our company's value before divorcing me. Each word felt like glass in my mouth. Strategic. Lisa straightened, her business face falling into place. I've contributed just as much to this company as you have. I deserve my fair share. I've never disputed that. But this. I gestured at the screen, at the methodical dismantling of our life together. This is calculating. Cold. It's protecting myself, she countered. And it's not like things have been great between us anyway. This blindsided me. What are you talking about? We just celebrated landing the Westridge project 2 weeks ago. We went to that Italian place you love. That was work, David. We celebrated a business accomplishment. When was the last time we celebrated us? When was the last time you were actually present and not checking your phone or mentally debugging some code? I started to protest, then stopped, my mind racing through recent months. Had I been absent? Distant? This isn't coming from nowhere, Lisa continued, softer now. We've been business partners for years, but we stopped being partners in other ways a long time ago. I stared at her, searching for the woman I'd fallen in love with. You could have talked to me. We could have tried counseling. I suggested it last year. Twice. You said we didn't have time with the Peterson project deadline. Had she? I vaguely remembered brushing off conversations about making time for us during that hectic period. So instead of trying again, you decided to lawyer up and plan your exit? That's your solution? The hurt was morphing into anger now. And using our business, the one thing we built together that actually works, as a bargaining chip? Lisa's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then quickly away, but not before I caught a glimpse of Stephanie's name on the notification. Something inside me snapped. Is she coaching you right now? Giving you pointers on how to handle the confrontation? I lunged for her phone. Lisa snatched it away. Stop it. You're being paranoid. Am I? Let me see the message then. No. She backed away, clutching her phone. You're proving exactly why I needed to plan carefully. Look at yourself. I caught my reflection in the microwave door, flushed face, wild eyes. I barely recognized myself. Taking a deep breath, I stepped back. You're right. I'm sorry. I returned to the stool, suddenly exhausted. I'm just trying to understand when my wife became someone who could plot behind my back for months. Lisa remained standing, keeping the island between us like a defensive barrier. It wasn't like that. It evolved gradually. Like a virus, I muttered. She ignored the jab. I need to figure out my next steps now that you know. Your next steps? What about our next steps? I looked up at her. Or is there no or any more? Lisa's silence said everything. I nodded slowly, a strange calm settling over me. So that's it. 8 years of marriage, reduced to asset spreadsheets and legal strategies. I closed her laptop gently. Well, at least now I know. David? No, it's fine. You've clearly thought this through. Very thoroughly. I stood up, needing distance, air, perspective. I'm going to my brother's for the night. I can't be here right now. I understand. Her voice was small, lacking the confidence from earlier. As I grabbed my keys and wallet, a thought occurred to me. The business. Logic link. What happens to it? Lisa hesitated. Joanna suggested a clean break would be best. I buy you out, or you buy me out. Our creation, our shared achievement, reduced to a transaction. And if neither of us wants to sell to the other, then we'd have to liquidate and split the proceeds. Liquidate. Such a clinical term for destroying something we'd poured our hearts into. I nodded again, unable to form words. At the door, I turned back. One more thing. That message I saw, you said I had no idea. Was that just about the divorce, or? I couldn't finish the question. Lisa looked away. There's no one else, if that's what you're asking. At least there was that. I walked out, the door closing behind me with a soft click that somehow sounded like finality. My brother Colin's apartment was small but offered sanctuary. He didn't ask questions when I showed up, just handed me a beer and made up the couch with sheets and a pillow. You want to talk about it? He finally asked as we sat watching a basketball game neither of us cared about. Lisa's divorcing me. Been planning it for months. I found out today by accident. Colin's eyes widened. Shit, man. I'm sorry. Yeah, I took a long pull from my beer. The kicker is our business. We built it together, and now... Logic link? That's going strong, isn't it? That's the problem. It's valuable now. She's been waiting for our big contract to close before filing. Colin shook his head. Cold. The thing is, I continued, the thoughts finally organizing themselves, I don't even know if I want to fight for the marriage anymore. Not after seeing how calculated this all was. But the business. You don't want to lose it. It's not just about money. It's... I struggled to articulate the feeling. Your baby, Colin supplied. Your creation. Exactly. I slumped back on the couch. And technically, we're equal partners. She's as entitled to it as I am. Colin considered this. What if you offered her something else instead? Buy her out. With what? Most of my money is tied up in the business. And our house, I guess, which will also be divided. Can the business function without both of you? I thought about this. It would be difficult. I handle most of the technical development, but Lisa manages client relationships, design, and marketing. We're complementary. So either you find a way to work together post-divorce, which sounds like a nightmare, or one of us buys the other out, or we dissolve it entirely. I finished the thought. Dissolved by divorce. Colin cringed. Sounds like a bad reality show. I couldn't even laugh. The thought of dismantling Logic Link felt like contemplating amputation. It wasn't just code and clients. It represented our shared dream, our vision, thousands of hours of collaboration. I need to think, I said, standing up. Mind if I use your Wi-Fi? Make yourself at home. Passwords on the fridge. I pulled out my own laptop, not company property, my personal machine, and started researching. Business valuation methods. Divorce asset division. Mediation versus litigation. Partnership dissolution. The technical, factual side of my brain took over, finding comfort in information gathering. If Lisa could be strategic, so could I. By 2 a.m., I had the beginnings of a plan. Not a counterattack, but a path forward that might salvage something from the wreckage. I finally fell asleep, emotionally drained but mentally resolute. The next morning, I woke to 3 missed calls and a text from Lisa. We need to talk about next steps. Please come home when you're ready. Ready? As if anyone could be ready for this. I showered, borrowed a clean shirt from Colin, and drove back to the house, our house, at least for now, with a strange sense of clarity. Lisa was at the kitchen table, her laptop closed this time, 2 cups of coffee at the ready. She looked like she hadn't slept much either. Thanks for coming back, she said as I sat down across from her. I've been thinking about how to make this as painless as possible. Divorce is inherently painful, I replied, accepting the coffee. But I agree we should minimize damage. She seemed surprised by my calm tone. I've made a list of our joint assets. I thought we could go through them together, see if we can reach preliminary agreements before involving lawyers too heavily. I have a different proposal, I said, pulling out my own notes. It's about Logic Link. Lisa tensed. What about it? I don't want to dissolve it. And I don't think either of us buying the other out makes sense right now. The business needs both our skill sets. Co-owning a business with an ex-spouse rarely works, David. I know, but what if we restructure? Create 2 connected but separate entities under a holding company. She frowned. Explain. I establish a development shop focused purely on the technical side. You create a design and marketing firm. We each own our respective companies outright. Together, we maintain equal shares in a holding company that owns the LogicLink brand and existing client contracts. Lisa's expression shifted from skepticism to consideration. Two separate businesses that collaborate when needed. Exactly. For existing clients, nothing changes externally. Internally, we divide responsibilities cleanly. For new clients, we can choose to work together through the holding company or pursue separate opportunities. And the current projects? Meridian. We complete them jointly, as promised. Honor our commitments. She studied me. That's not what I expected from you. What did you expect? That I'd rage and try to sabotage everything? The hurt flared again, but I tamped it down. Despite what you might think, I care about what we built. Even if our marriage is over. Lisa had the grace to look uncomfortable. I didn't want to hurt you. But you did. And we'll need to address that eventually. I tapped my notes. But right now, I'm trying to find a solution that lets us both move forward without destroying LogicLink in the process. She nodded slowly. I'd need to run this by Joanna, see if it's legally sound. Of course. I figured you would. I couldn't keep the edge from my voice. Lisa sighed. David, I'm sorry things reached this point, that you found out the way you did, but not sorry for planning it all behind my back. I did what I thought was necessary. I studied her face, the woman I'd once trusted completely, now carefully wording her responses like a witness on the stand. You know what's ironic? If you'd come to me with concerns about our marriage, about feeling disconnected, I would have listened. I would have fought for us. Would you? Really? Her skepticism was palpable. Because I tried, David. Maybe not dramatically, but I tried. Had she? I thought back to small moments, her suggestion that we take a vacation, just the two of us, her attempts to establish date nights that inevitably got rescheduled due to work demands. Had I missed the warning signs? Maybe we both failed, I conceded. But secretive divorce planning wasn't the answer. It's done now, she said quietly. We need to focus on what's next. What's next? Such a simple phrase for such a complex reality. I looked around our kitchen, the space we'd remodeled together last year, arguing over backsplash tiles and cabinet handles. Everything looked the same, yet everything had changed. I'll need time to get my things in order, I said. Figure out living arrangements. You can stay in the guest room for now, Lisa offered, until we sort things out. The guest room, where she'd already hidden some of her belongings, preparing for her exit while I worked late nights. I'll stay with Colin a bit longer. I need some space. She nodded, accepting this. And the business proposal? Think about it. Talk to your attorney. I stood up, suddenly needing to be anywhere else. Let me know what you decide. As I turned to leave, Lisa called after me. David? For what it's worth. I did love you. Do love you, in a way. I paused at the door. Just not enough to try fixing things instead of planning an exit strategy. Her silence was answer enough. Over the next week, Lisa and I engaged in a strange dance of text messages and brief, carefully civil encounters to transfer necessary items from the house. I threw myself into work, coding until my eyes burned, focusing on the Meridian project with renewed intensity. If the contract was so important to Lisa's divorce timeline, I would make damn sure it was executed perfectly. Colin's couch became my temporary home. Stay as long as you need, he assured me, though I could tell his bachelor lifestyle wasn't designed for a semi-permanent roommate. I'm looking at apartments, I promised. Just need to figure out finances first. On Friday, Lisa texted that she wanted to meet at a coffee shop to discuss the business proposal. Neutral territory. Smart. The cafe was busy enough to provide background noise, but not so crowded that we couldn't talk. Lisa was already there when I arrived, a manila folder beside her cup. I talked to Joanna, she said after I'd ordered and sat down. About your restructuring idea. I nodded, waiting. She thinks it could work, with the right operating agreements in place. It's unusual, but legally sound. Lisa pushed the folder toward me. I had her draft some preliminary terms. I flipped through the documents. Framework for the holding company structure, division of intellectual property, management responsibilities. It was all there, professionally outlined. You moved fast, I commented. The Meridian contract is finalizing next week. We need clarity before then. Always the pragmatist. I closed the folder. And personally, what do you think? Lisa's professional mask slipped slightly. I think it might be the best solution. Neither of us wants to walk away from LogicLink completely. This lets us maintain our professional connections while untangling the personal ones. Untangling, I repeated. That's one way to put it. She sighed. David, can we focus on the business aspect right now? That's something we might actually resolve constructively. Fine. I reopened the folder, pointing to a clause. This section on client management needs clarification. For joint projects, who's the primary contact? For the next hour, we discussed the details with a strange mix of old familiarity and new guardedness. This was the Lisa I knew, sharp, insightful, seeing angles I missed. In purely business matters, we still worked well together, finding compromise and building on each other's ideas. This could actually work, she said finally, making a last notation on the draft. It could, I agreed. Professionally, at least. Lisa looked up, meeting my eyes directly for the first time that day. I know you think I was cold and calculating, that I betrayed you, didn't you? I was protecting myself. And yes, maybe I went too far into planning mode. It's what I do when I'm scared. Scared of what? Me? The thought was absurd. No. Scared of confrontation. Of change. Of failing. She twisted her coffee cup slowly. Of admitting that something that was once so right had gone wrong. I considered this. So instead of addressing the problems, you decided to strategize your way out. It wasn't my finest moment, she admitted. But I'm trying to do better now. This business compromise, I think it shows we can still find common ground. Common ground. I shook my head slightly. A week ago, I thought we stood on shared ground entirely. Now I'm trying to salvage pieces of a life that's being dismantled. I'm sorry, she said, and for once, it sounded genuine. You know what hurts most? Not just the divorce plans, but how? I searched for the right word. Methodical it all was. The spreadsheets. The asset lists. The strategic timing with the Meridian contract. Like our marriage was just another project to efficiently wind down. Lisa was quiet for a moment. I deal with emotions by turning them into tasks. You know that about me. When things between us started feeling wrong, I did what I always do, made a plan. Without talking to me first. Yes, that was wrong. She met my gaze again. But we're talking now, and maybe this business arrangement is a place to start rebuilding. Not our marriage, but some kind of respectful partnership. I wasn't ready to offer absolution, but I nodded. I can work with the business plan. The rest will take time. As we gathered the documents, Lisa hesitated. There's something else you should know. About why I've been so focused on finalizing things quickly. My stomach tightened. What? I've been offered a position with Artisan Digital in Chicago. Senior UX Director. Chicago. Hundreds of miles away. When did this happen? They approached me last month. The offer is contingent on my availability to start by next quarter. The timeline suddenly made more sense. So that's the real deadline. Not just the Meridian contract, but your job offer. It's a factor, she admitted. A significant opportunity. Another piece of information she'd withheld. I shouldn't have been surprised, yet it still stung. Were you going to tell me about this before or after serving divorce papers? David. Never mind. I stood up, folder in hand. I'll have my lawyer review these terms. We can meet next week to finalize. Lisa reached for my arm. Wait, please. I know I've handled this all wrong, but this business compromise, it's a good sign, isn't it? That we can find solutions together, even now. I looked down at her hand on my sleeve, then back at her face. The woman I'd built dreams with, now building an exit strategy. It's a start, I conceded. But Lisa, trust is like code. Once it's corrupted, you can't just patch it and hope for the best. You have to rebuild from the ground up. She withdrew her hand slowly. I understand. As I walked to my car, a strange thought occurred to me. In her methodical, emotionally detached way, Lisa had actually done me a favor. If she could strategize her departure so carefully while presenting a facade of normalcy, what else might she have concealed over the years? The marriage I was mourning might have been an illusion longer than I realized. My phone buzzed with a text from Colin. How'd it go? I stared at the screen, considering my response. Finally, I typed, productive. I think we have a path forward for the business. Coming back now. As I drove away from the cafe, I felt lighter somehow. Not healed, not even close. But facing reality, however painful, was better than living in blissful ignorance. Lisa had her spreadsheets and exit strategies. Now I had my own plan. Salvage what could be saved, rebuild what needed rebuilding, and move forward with clear eyes. The digital betrayal had revealed uncomfortable truths, but maybe that clarity was the first step toward whatever came next. For Logic Link. For myself. For a future I hadn't planned for, but would now code from scratch, debugging as I went. Was I wrong to try salvaging our business after discovering my wife's secret divorce plans? Would you have walked away from everything instead?